All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets for the Sunday night showdown between the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Giants. But before we do that, I want to get into a quick recap of how things have been going. Kind of the issue with giving out PrizePicks content during the NFL season is typically I give out so much content that the picks aren't finalized until I put out the next video. So it's typically tough to give a recap, but let's just touch on it. So throughout the season thus far, we're 156 for 257 or out of 257. So hitting 60% of our NFL bets thus far this season. We're up 15 units on PrizePicks and Underdog. So obviously going pretty good there. I would argue the units should be a little bit higher. If you guys have been following the bets of the day, a lot of them have been flex hits, which has been a little bit tilting there, but not going to complain about a good year thus far. If we look at some of the current bets that I have out there right now, this is from the college football video. Currently 3 for 3 with the bets. Have two players, I guess one player live right now. We need Nico to step up, but this was also called out on the bet slip that these were the 5 prop bets that I brought up throughout the video. I mentioned the one that I didn't like as much on PrizePicks was this one with Nico. I mentioned I would probably be betting his under on Underdog, that'd be the way to go. And for those that maybe missed it, there was a bunch of middling opportunities that we had on this slip. That's why he was on there to draw attention to that. The Flex Friday slip is currently 2 for 2 as well. And then going back to the Taco Tuesday video as well, currently 2 for 2 with 1 push. And so things have been going pretty well. Obviously, if you use last week's picks, I think you guys did pretty well. Don't want to jinx it. Let's hope we have another good week this week. Let's go ahead and get into it. And so as always, I do like to start out with a little bit of a game preview here. And looking at this game total, I'm kind of shocked by it. 47 is going to be the game total here. And I'm also shocked that the Giants are only 3.5 point dogs. I know if you look at the records, that's probably why. And guys, like I think anyone that's been following the channel has been hearing me hype up Daniel Jones thus far this season. I don't think anyone's really shocked at how well he's looked lately and really the hype he's probably been getting this week. You know, just based off of my social media feed, I think that's true. Like I know in week 1 he was getting trashed and I was like, that's probably not justified. And now he seems to be getting a lot of hype and he should be. I mean, last week was a great game. The Giants are really a couple drops from kind of clutch throws from Daniel Jones away from a little bit of a better record. I get that. And I get the Bengals haven't really, I mean, they're 1-4, you know, they need a win. So I get that, but I just think 3.5 points for the Bengals. I think they're going to win by more than that. And that's mostly due to this injury report here for the New York Giants. We look at it, guys, they're, starting running back is out, Devin Singletary, and Malik Neighbors is also out as well. So arguably 2 of their best offensive weapons are going to be out in this game. I know they were out last week and that ended up working out for them. Had a great game against the defense that apparently just is not that good in Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against the Bengals D. The Bengals are pretty much healthy as well, guys. Looking at it, Chase Brown's really the only one that's questionable. Yes, Zach Moss was citing an injury throughout the week, but he's going to be good to go. And it does seem to be that Chase Brown is going to be good to go here as well. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the snaps. And I do think it's important to call it like one thing here for the Cincinnati Bengals is that Chase Brown still not getting as many snaps as you would think. So 40% in week 4, it seemed like he was going to step up into a bigger role than in week 5, which in a way he did because he did have more touches than Zach Moss, but only 35% of the snaps. Zach Moss still playing 67% of the snaps. So kind of strange there. And then the only other thing that I think is really worthwhile to point out snap-wise for the Bengals is Eric All is still getting the majority of the snaps and, you know, kind of found the broadcast crew, you know, throughout the games. They have quietly been hyping him up, which tells me the coaching staff has probably been hyping him up to the broadcast crew. So maybe there's a bet for Eric All we can find. Let me take a peek at the Giants. So Devin Singletary was out. We saw Tyrone Tracy get 62% of the snaps last week, and then Eric Gray get 36% of the snaps. Now, I feel like everyone's going to be hyping up Tyrone Tracy Jr. a lot, where I don't know. I wouldn't say that he looked bad on film by any means. Like, I don't want to say that, but I think if Devin Singletary was playing in that game, I think he has an even better game. And so like they didn't even utilize what he's probably best at. You know, in college football, he was a receiver for 4 years before his last year where he became a running back. And so it's just kind of weird, the production they had. Don't get me wrong. Like he took advantage of a good matchup and was able to kind of do well there. I think it was more a testament to the Seattle Seahawks defense. So I would say maybe pump the brakes a little bit on Tyrone Tracy Jr. At the same time, throughout the preseason, all the New York running backs had looked pretty darn solid. Like I was pleasantly shocked. We saw Eric Gray have a good game in the passing game last week. So in a weird way, it wouldn't be surprising to see them have another good game. Like there's only one bad game mixed in there for the New York Giants running backs. Now's that game against Dallas, and Singletary had a couple of kind of clutch runs in that game, but they definitely were selling out to stop the run. And so, yeah, just maybe don't go too crazy on Tyrone Tracy Jr. I think a lot of people are just going to look at the box score and just instantly want to overhype him. And kind of same thing with Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton had a big game last week. Not overly shocking, again, given how like Seattle looked, but Slayton had really two bad drops in that game. I think he's had a few bad drops throughout the season, if I'm remembering correctly. I know every receiver has. Robinson's had some bad drops. Slayton's had some bad drops. Neighbors has obviously had some bad drops. It's honestly like Daniel Jones playing as well as he has kind of crazy. But the one thing I want to call out here is Jalen Hyatt snaps, 67% of the snaps. That's a little bit shocking. And maybe Slayton just draws a little bit more defensive attention here. And then maybe Hyatt actually hits a deep ball. I could kind of see that happening. I don't know if that's something we're going to want to bet on, but it is something to point out. And then tight end snap wise, guys, Theo Johnson is commanding the snap share there. Not really doing too much with it, but important to note. So let's go ahead and get to the top prop bets for this game. And so the top prop bet that we have in this game is going to be actually Jamar Chase to get under 0.5 receptions, which obviously if you look at his game log, it's you may or may not like it. Obviously against KC and New England, two tougher defenses. I would say that the Giants defense is going to be the third most difficult defense that they have faced thus far. So there is that part. Touchdowns are fluky. We know that. And maybe Vegas is just saying, all right, he's had 5 touchdowns in 3 games. He's due to not have any touchdowns. That could be part of it. That is currently the best bet that we have on the board right now. So if you guys want to run that out, by all means, go for it. I think, my kind of thought process with this is Vegas knows more than us for the most part. We can find these slight edges on a small 1-game slate. I typically, for the most part, will trust Vegas. Now, that hasn't been true with some receptions props, as a lot of you guys have probably hopefully benefited from that on maybe Sleeper or Flip, or if you're someone that just watches this for normal sports books, seeing where you can find edges. Obviously, that's been beneficial. But after that, the next bet that we have is going to be T. Higgins to get his over fantasy score. And coincidentally, we also have Jamar Chase to get over his fantasy score. So let's go ahead and take a peek at T. Higgins in general, guys. Looking at T. Higgins, to me, I like just most of the bets that we get for T. Higgins just in general. He's been someone that has looked really good. I've been actually very impressed by how he's looked thus far this year. Basically right away. If he didn't look, I would say, this good at any point last year. So probably annoying if you're a Bengals fan there, but I like his 5 receptions. I think he has a good chance to get 5 receptions. But really, hopefully, any of the bets are going to hit. Like, they all kind of look good. Obviously, since he's come back and played a full allotment of snaps, 9 targets, 6 receptions. No, 9 receptions and 6 receptions. The targets have been much more than that, 14 and 10. That's why I was stuck in my head, because he's had a very high target share. And again, he's looked good. Now, his over fantasy score, if you guys are looking at the game log, you're probably not going to like it as much. I get that. It's probably why I probably favor a little bit more of the receptions as well. Let's go ahead and take a peek at some other bets that we are getting in this game. Joe Burrow pass attempts, no need to go there, I would say. From that point on, I would say the one thing I want to call it the most is going to be some of these big prop line differences that we have really between the average sportsbook line, but also underdog as well. Like this one for Jamar Chase sticks out like a sore thumb, right? 78.5 his receiving yards is set at. That's off by 4 compared to underdog. That's also going to be off by 3 compared to the average sportsbook line. So this is one where, typically I don't love to bet these, but it being a 2-game slate, this is a bet that, kind of just makes sense. Kind of one of those bets that they're almost forcing us into. So I don't mind that. If you guys want to bet the over, obviously underdog would be the way to go. Again, these lines should never be off by 4 in general. I mean, that's a lot. So maybe a little bit of a middling opportunity. Again, I think looking at it in the sense of, I don't think Baltimore is a bad defense. Like, don't get me wrong there, but Carolina clearly not that good, and Washington clearly not that good. So I would almost argue if the Giants D kind of comes out and still looks good enough, that we really shouldn't be expecting a massive game out of him. So I could see betting this under, but I would only say that if the Jamar Chase under touchdowns gets taken away, which it might. And then same thing with Chase Brown, guys. Again, like this prop line difference that we're getting here, it's 2. That's not that much, but that really shouldn't be happening. Eric All, I would say that's the correct line for him, given about the 50 snaps that he has been playing. I do want to call it, like, to me, guys, I think the game total is a little bit too high. And I also think that the Bengals have a good chance to win by more than what they're projected here. So looking at it, I don't mind the idea of doing Chase Brown over 10.5 rushing attempts. I do think he is the back that would be kind of the grinded out back, especially if Chase Brown is going to be, I don't want to say he's going to be limited in the game. I don't think they would play him if that was really a true concern, but maybe at the tail end of a game, there might not be a reason to, give him that extra work. if the Bengals are indeed playing with the lead. So I do think that this is a good game script bet based off of how I personally see the game going. Now, he only had 9 rush attempts last week, but he also did get a little bit banged up in that game himself. So that's part of the equation as well. So maybe we just stay away from Zach Moss and Chase Brown, but I think this is a decent edge. And so, guys, just real quickly, want to pull up this game on Underdog. Really nothing there on Underdog right now, unless you do agree with some of those prop line differences that I called out, like Jamar Chase over receiving yards. But let's go ahead now and jump back into PrizePicks, jump into the Giants. All right, so getting into it, guys, very interesting, some of the lines that we are seeing right away. So for Darius Slayton, the under fantasy score is one that's the best bet for the Giants, and I'm kind of more on board with that. But like, if we're doing that, I would almost want to pair it with Daniel Jones to get under his fantasy score as well. Again, I don't really see him having this massive game. I don't know. This almost feels like a good regression spot for the Giants offense in a weird way, where they probably have been playing a little bit better than maybe they should be. And again, I think you give it another team another week to prepare for your offense without Neighbors, for your offense without Singletary. I think that just means good things for that defense then. This is one where I would be kicking myself when he instantly hits a touchdown, but I think it's just the best bet on the board. We could easily pair that up with the Jamar Chase under anytime touchdowns and feel good about how Vegas sees the game going. This is the issue with these one-game slates. Daniel Jones to get over his fantasy score. That's one that I'm not going to touch. Again, guys, I've been hyping up Daniel Jones really as much as probably the most out of anyone. That's part of the benefit of watching the film of these games, is that you see stuff like that. In week 1, really did not look bad. I thought he looked very serviceable, and really since then he's kind of gotten better each game. I'm not trying to say he's great, but probably a top 15 quarterback in the league, which is not something I would have said at the start of the season. So interesting there. Let's see here. Any other edges? Those are really the bets that we are getting right now. I assume we're going to get some Tyrone Tracy bets shortly. And guys, for Underdog, really the only bet that I somewhat like, and it would be Jalen Hyatt for over his longest reception. This is one where honestly, if you can find it on a sports book, I would just bump this up to like 20, because I do think I think he has a good chance of catching a deep ball. And that's really the best way that you're going to be able to benefit from a take like that. It's like 11.5 for his longest reception. That's like one reception. Like why even bother that? That's kind of the role I see him playing in this game. So probably not one that I'm targeting. Really nothing here for Underdog. So let's go ahead and give you guys the PrizePicks bet of the day. But first, guys, I want to just thank you guys for watching this video. If you can, just leave a thumbs up. If you guys are new, subscribe to the channel. Both of those really help the channel grow, and that's how I'm able to just reinvest and keep putting out more and more content for you guys, which then leads me to be able to put out more and more tools to you guys, which I keep adding onto the 9to5 website. So if you guys want access to the tools that you saw in this video and you guys have never signed up before or are thinking about signing up again, make sure to use the promo code KEEPCASH, and they'll give you guys 20% off your first month membership. So that $10 membership becomes $8 for the first month. All right, so looking at the PrizePicks bet of the day, running out a 4-slip bet. Again, kind of a tight board, I would say. I know I said that a lot last week. It ended up being pretty darn good for the single game slates. This bet slip is mostly based off of how I see the game going, where I do see the Bengals defense stepping up. Thus, I do think it's going to lead to the Bengals playing with the lead. Thus, I think it's going to lead to more of a run game script. Now, Jamar Chase could easily get this over, and I do want to call out that the best bet that we have for him is going to be the anytime touchdowns under 0.5. That's the best bet that we have in this game. I expect it to get bumped to, I don't know what it'd get bumped to. I think they would just pull it off the board. But this is another bet where we are kind of clearly getting an outlier. This one's been there for a while as well, so I don't know if they're going to bump it at all, guys. That's just how it goes. But then I do like Zach Moss to get over 10.5 rush attempts again, just mostly targeting the game script. And then I do see Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton potentially struggling in this game. The issue that happens here is this is a pretty correlated bet slip here, so the payout is going to be a little bit reduced. That also goes it makes sense why they're reducing it. That's going to be all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the coverage. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, if you guys want access to any of the prop tools on the website or any of the NFL DFS or fantasy golf tools, head on over there. Get access to all of that for just $10 a month. But when you use the promo code KEEPCASH and get your first month for just $8. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like, and as always, let's keep cashing.